right, so you can go to your phone now. They can't hear anything. When that hits 0, we'll go to the Andre Bailey page. What's up, everybody? Andre Bailey here. Change Everything Live. We're live on the internet.
Yes, we are.
It's amazing. I'm here today with my good friend Spence Pfleiderer. Spence, how you doing, man?
Good to see you.
What's
Andre.
going on?
Good to see you.
I want to introduce the crew here a second. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves? Go around and let's start at the end here. Introduce yourself.
Introduce everybody.
Hey, I'm Marina, and I'm doing graphics today.
Hi, Marina.
Daniel doing audio.
Alex, producer.
And
Nate, cameraman.
awesome. So Alex and his team do a fantastic job, and we're excited because using the power of the internet, we're able to talk to thousands and thousands of people about topics that are important. Today, we're talking about the concept of deciphering discipline. Discipline is a topic I was thinking about. A misunderstood topic, but something incredibly important in our lives. Spence, we're going to get to you and the work you do at Central Care Mission, helping over
58 people right
58 men, formerly homeless, who drug and alcohol addiction has ruined their lives, wrecked them, and now using your program that people are going to hear about, you're able to transform their lives. But again, the reason I picked you for this topic of discipline...
We're still wondering why you did that.
Well, because I would tell you that when I really thought about it, discipline is a huge part of how your men overcome addiction.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about that in just a second. So let me go up here and just show you the main point for today. And our cameraman will be able to get this and zoom in and out. So the main point is discipline gets a bad rap in our society. We see discipline in very negative terms. But I will tell you that we see it that way because ultimately, although discipline, you get a temporary pain or there's a sacrifice that happens with discipline. The problem is that the avoidance of that pain is what ultimately leads to long-term pain and suffering. So pull up that first meme that we're going to share today. And Spence, this is something that I really thought of you when I thought about these life disciplines that people can start today. Number one, get control of organizing your day. So much of the basic structure of your day, organizing it and being disciplined to do that, that can be a key important part of just adding discipline to your life. Number two, change what you put in your body. One of the things I thought about so much this week in preparing for this topic of deciphering discipline is the idea that so much of our life comes from our body. We have walked away in our society from the importance of your body really controlling so much of how you live your life. But change and be cognizant of what you put in your body and how you handle your body. And number three, be mindful of your thoughts. There's a discipline of the mind that you can start thinking about today. Are you negative? Are you overwhelmingly fearful? Are you focused on all the wrong things? Be mindful of that and begin disciplining yourself today, or even getting in the discipline of thinking about what your thoughts are. That's number three. Number four, practice being present with people. That's another discipline. Be in the moment. Be physically and mentally with people. That's a discipline you can practice. And this one's tough for me. Discipline yourself. Some of you will relate to this. To sleep adequately and take deserved breaks. So these are 5 things that we're going to talk about today. But I am going to now introduce the man, Spence Pfleiderer. Spence, how you doing, man?
Good, man. Good.
Awesome.
This is exciting.
Well, tell me a little bit about you and what you're doing at Central Care Mission. a lot of folks might not know exactly what you guys are up to,
Yep.
but you're helping 58 men who homeless, people who have OD'd on drugs, folks that have been at the lowest part of life and society. You help them get off drugs and restart their life. Talk about that.
So what we say is that if you're addicted to drugs and or alcohol long enough, you're going to lose everything. When you lose everything, where addiction and homelessness intersect, those are the people that come into Central Care Mission. They have nothing. Their lives are spun out of control. They've lost marriages, businesses, friends, relationships. They have lost literally everything. And so how do you take a person who has nothing, and how do you help themselves, and how do you help put them back together? And the key to that is really discipline, as you have mentioned.
So talk a little bit about the program a second. Actually, I'll have you go up. Why don't you go up and walk people through what Central Care Mission looks like?
So at the heart of Central Care Mission are the life skills, and each one of these life skills are disciplines. So the spiritual life skill, you have meditation, you've got journaling, and you've got silence and solitude. And just think of that, silence and solitude. These guys, some of them come out of prison. They have heard nothing but noise. Prison is not quiet. And they come into Central Care Mission, and they come into a lake and a tranquil environment, and it's quiet. So the spiritual discipline of journaling your life, processing what's going on. The next life skill is the physical life skill. The physical life skill means physical exercise, eating healthy, and also dealing with the biochemical makeup in your brain. If you're off, face that. Don't be embarrassed with that. Take the proper medication and deal with the physical deficiencies in your brain. Then you have the emotional life skill. And the discipline here is to really face where you're at and how you're built emotionally. A lot of these guys have been hurt. They're full of fear. Then they move to anger. They move to bitterness. They move to hatred. They move to rage. And then they can move even into murder. And so in order to get control of your addiction, you have to begin to know where you're at emotionally. And so identify that and have the discipline to dig down deep into those causes and those results in your life. The next, financial discipline. Who doesn't need that? My father, I think he's watching from Ohio today. He drilled it into my head that you have to be disciplined financially. That's keeping your debt low. That is getting a savings account. Our guys, about 70% of our guys have savings accounts, up to 70%. They walk in with nothing, and they, at the end of a year, they have a savings account. They've eliminated their debt and turned their life around financially. And vocational, here's the tough part of the discipline of vocational, is not going after money, but going after the job, the calling, the life of work that makes you happy. And so those are kind of the life skills that we do there, Andre.
Spence, come back over here. Let's chat about that a little bit. Let's talk about how that looks. Talk about someone, and this is those that are watching.
Yeah.
Alicia Gonzalez, what's up? Oh, look at this. Your wife is on.
Oh,
she's watching.
Good.
Sonia, if he says something incorrect, make sure to post it and correct him. What's up to everyone out there watching? So, Spence, talk about your program. And maybe give an example of someone who's been in your program who is gotten free from addiction. And how does your program work? And how does discipline? People might not see that connection there.
Sure.
But I see you as someone who's overcome a lot in your life.
Sure.
And discipline played a big part in that. And it plays a big part in your program. Talk about your program.
Well, so the program, if you kind of think about coming in, is neuroplasticity is a key component of our program. These guys have fried the neurotransmitters in their brain. How do you rewire the brain? Well, you rewire the brain by creating discipline that creates habits. And let's talk about those.
So when someone comes into your program, you know, they're on drugs, they're on alcohol. You're thinking about their brain.
I'm thinking about their brain.
You're thinking about how to change their thoughts and the science of their brain.
Because here's what their brain is saying. Their brain is saying, you've just robbed me of a substance that I feel, my brain feels and is absolutely confident that if I don't get it, I'm going to die. So it's going to self-sabotage you physically, it's going to self-sabotage you emotionally, and your brain is going to begin to create dopamine to say, I want cocaine, I want drugs, I want heroin. So you have to rewire the dopamine pathways in your brain so that they're no longer saying, I want the bad things. You have to be disciplined in your decisions and your actions to say, now I'm doing good things, and where does all the dopamine go?
So Spence, someone might think of a program like yours as, you know, bring people in, give them a shower, give them a hug.
No.
And you're saying that old model of just telling someone to get off drugs, you got to think of it at a whole nother level to be successful.
Yeah, the 30, 60, and 90-day quick fixes to rehabilitation they don't work. We are a one-year program, and in that 1 year, they put together a lifestyle of disciplines that they practice while they're in there. And here's what we say. The things that you do in Central Care Mission to get clean are the things you must do when you leave Central Care Mission to stay clean.
Talk about the life of... Actually, run up there and show that slide real quick. I'm going to have them follow you.
Yeah,
we're going to put you to work here
there's
today.
three. Yeah, that's all right. There's three things that change the plasticity of the brain and the neurotransmitters and kind of change the direction of the dopamine pathways. The first one, you can change, go to the next one, is meditation and prayer. It's really interesting. Meditation changes the actual neural pathways of your brain, and it calms your brain. It changes the beta waves in your brain, and you begin to change how you think, calm down. The next thing is physical exercise. It's absolutely amazing when you do physical exercise how all the endorphins begin to flood your brain with natural narcotics and opiates. So if I'm a heroin addict or a cocaine addict, cocaine's not an opiate, but it is a very strong drug. If you begin to exercise and you are focused on, I want to use opiates, I want to use cocaine, and then you go exercise hard and your brain is flooded with a set of healthy, life-changing drugs, you no longer want that for that moment or for that day. And then pretty soon you don't want it for that week, and then pretty soon you don't want it for that life. Next is reading new information. We read about 20 books in a year that revolve around the life skills. So not only are they being taught about them, they're reading about finances, they're reading about physical health, they're reading about spiritual health. When I got off drugs, and I'm going to give a shout out to my mom on this, she's watching. When I got off drugs, and I really excelled in reading. In 6th grade, Andre, I had a reading disability. My mom every summer took me 7, 8 miles away to my great aunts, and I had to go through reading because I could not read well. Then she took me to a speed reading class, and I think I scored like almost 4th from the top. Wow. As a little kid with a bunch of adults, and I got on fire for reading. So I made it all the way through high school reading 50 to 100 books a year.
Wow, big part of it.
So what I did is I knew this changed my mind, and then guess what? Neuroscience brings it out. When you learn new information, when you read, it changes the neural pathways in your brain, and it resets your brain. The dopamine is now no longer going to your addiction. It's going to the information that you're learning. It's very exciting.
So let's talk about you and other people who have been through programs or this transformation. Talk about your program, and in specifics, walk me through a typical day of someone who's in Central Care Mission.
So we're a working program, so these guys will get up about 4:30 in the morning. They'll begin to do their journaling. They'll begin to do silence and solitude.
They get up at what time?
4:30 in the morning.
Okay.
Yep.
What time do they go to bed?
They go to bed 10.
Okay.
Yeah, 10. That's throughout the week. And so they'll get their morning disciplines together. Then they'll go to work, and they work a tough day. It's physical labor. They come home. We circle up, and everybody, of course, wants to know, just like you and I, what's for supper. And then they do details. Well, here's a discipline, right? Then every toilet is washed, every floor is washed, every trash can, every bed, every dorm, everything. The place is spotless. We do that every day. Okay. That's a discipline. And they got to carry that into their life after they leave. After that, there's class. That's where they learn new information.
What time does class run from?
Class is, well, if I'm teaching, it's an hour and a half. Everybody else is
Starts
about an hour.
at about 7?
About 7.
So they're going to get up at 4:30.
Right.
They're going to go to work.
Yep.
Do some personal work before going to a job. Go to a job, come home, eat, and then it's school.
So, and here's what some guys do is they get up at 4:30, and their van doesn't leave, their transportation doesn't leave till 7. They go out and hit the weight pile at 5. Or they come home a little early, 3 o'clock, because they've gone in so early. They're out there at the weight pile. They're on mountain bikes. They're riding. They're exercising. They're playing basketball. They're playing volleyball. They're getting their body, their brain engaged.
So this structured discipline,
Yeah.
this is a huge, important part for breaking free of addiction. Why is that?
Well, what I've been saying, it kind of rewires the brain in a different direction, and it puts that new information in there. Also, here's the other thing. Addiction and homelessness is chaos. It is a daily life of chaos.
Interesting.
And there is no let-up of the chaos. The thing that people will say to me when they come and actually sit down, a man sits down across the desk from me, he'll say, I'm tired, I'm done. And what are they done with? They're not done with the drugs. They're not done, they're done with the chaos. And for some of these guys, it's 10, it's 20 years. And so you put them in a controlled environment, and all of a sudden their brain is just going everywhere. Their nervous system, the anxiety, they're darting everywhere. They have panic attacks. And so what you have to do is you have to bring a lifestyle of order to them.
That's fascinating. And I think and maybe most people don't think of it that way. They think of someone lives with an addiction, they're on drugs, they're on alcohol, and then they have to get off drugs and alcohol. But really, it's a lifestyle. It's a way of thinking that has to change.
So we always say at the mission, you're not here to get off drugs. You're here to change your life.
Wow. You
You're
tell
here-
them that.
Yeah, all the time. I says, if you're here to get off drugs, you're here for all the wrong reasons, because getting off drugs, that's the simple part. Putting together your life so that you don't have triggers, so that you don't have stressors in your life, that as you leave Central Care Mission and the structure, if you take that out into your home and then you place that structure template back on your life, and you still get up at 4 in the morning, you still go to the gym and lift weights, you still read new information, read new books.
So Spence, you
Yeah.
guys are incredibly tough on the people that go in the program. Frank, how you doing, man?
Frank, good to
Wells
see
in the
you.
corner
Yeah.
there. You guys are incredibly tough on the people who are in your program. You don't.
So let me address that.
Yeah.
So there's two things that you have to hold in balance. I don't know if you've read Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life.
So I have.
It is a fascinating book, and the issue of order and chaos. So in one way, here's the unique thing about Central Care Mission. In one sense, we're very tough in bringing the order. But in another sense, these guys go to work every day. They can branch out, and they have some autonomy. And they go back out, and they do deal with the chaos of a bad boss or idiotic coworkers or whatever, and then they come back. And so there's this kind of yin and yang, this give and take between chaos and order. And so you can't run a community of 58 guys and not be tough and not hold their feet to the fire on the structure that you've all agreed to is going to lead to health.
Gotcha.
Humanity, as you said, has a problem with discipline, and it is always trying to break that barrier. The danger is governments and even people have tried to control in a totalitarian way. We don't run a totalitarian place. That is
People can leave whenever they want.
Yeah, that's all control. And so you have to have this kind of do this dance between chaos and freedom and order in their lives, and they got to learn that.
Spence, kind of being philosophical here a second, why do you think it is our culture has moved, in Western society, we've moved so far away from this idea that discipline is important. I talked to many people this week and thinking about this topic, and the negative connotation that comes from even a discussion on discipline.
Sure.
Where do you think that comes from?
It's a false understanding of where pleasure comes from. We are going after pleasure, and we're going after quick pleasure. We're going after easy pleasure. And Jocko Willkoe, he's a great guy. He says hard choices, easy life. Easy choices, hard life. And so what we want is, in our society, we've been taught you don't have to make the hard choices. You don't have to sacrifice. You don't have to suffer. You don't have to make the tough decisions. And life's still going to turn out for you, because we're going to give you a trophy in baseball. You didn't win anything, but we're going to make you feel like you won the World Series. You didn't suffer. You didn't try to work. And that's built into our culture. So until our culture can begin to embrace proper suffering, we're in a world of hurt.
Yeah, I thought about this for my own life.
Yeah.
Anything.
By the way, people are like, I'm done listening to these guys.
Well, I will tell you, thinking about my own life, it's programmed into me. Just based on, all of us are imprinted by our society, our caretakers, our life experience. I had to, in the last couple of weeks, think about the fact that I probably live a life at times that's too loose, disorganized, and where I see discipline, even if I wasn't conscious of it, I see discipline as a negative. When anything valuable in my life, long-term, has come from short-term sacrificial discipline that I've made. The best things in my life have come when I've not given myself that out, and when I've dedicated myself in the short term for even a little suffering.
That's right.
In order to have long-term success. I love Jocko, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm going to try to bring Jocko to town. I'm actually trying to bring Jordan Peterson to town.
If you bring those guys, I want to meet them. They're the bomb,
so
both of them.
I won't pull up that meme on. This one's going to be a little bit interesting. You'll like this. So we put this together. How to kick your own ass. I thought Spence would appreciate this as someone who is one of the toughest guys I know. How to kick your own ass. Number one, be honest that you need an ass kicking. So I apply this to myself. And even in the past few weeks, I've been thinking about the fact that there are areas of my life I need a butt kicking, man. And admit your lack of discipline and self-control. I think most of us, when you look at how we live our lives, there's so much that we could be tougher on. We could apply discipline, short-term pain, to get long-term greater outcomes for our life. So how to kick your own ass, number one, be honest that you need an ass kicking. Number two, this one's a little controversial, but kick yourself in the nuts. And here's what I mean by that. Hit that pain point in your life and use it for change. Spence, one of the things you've talked about a lot with those trying to overcome addiction who are in Central Care Mission is that it takes them hitting the bottom sometimes.
Correct.
They hit the bottom, and it's that pain. It's that ultimate pain. Losing your family, losing your job, losing your future. I remember talking to one of your guys from Central Care Mission that had this great life, and drugs put him homeless under a bridge. And that pain is what became the area of greatest strength to see change in his life. So, number two, kick yourself where the sun don't shine. Number three, stand up to the bully. If you want to kick your own ass, you're going to have to realize that you are a bully. Stop letting your fears hold you back. You will bully yourself into making all the wrong choices.
Fear of failure.
If you fear of failure if you're not careful. Number four, watch out for the cheap shots. Your weaknesses don't fight fair. You are the dirtiest fighter against yourself. The inside parts of you will fight and trick you and convince you not to make the right choices and to discipline yourself to see ultimate success. So your weaknesses don't fight fair. Number five, celebrate the success that comes from having discipline, and gloat and talk trash to yourself. I mean this in a playful way. When you win, get excited and be proud of where discipline in the short term turns into long-term gains, whether, again, it's your body, whether it's time management, whether it's relationships, whether it's any area of your life where you're making a short-term decision to kick yourself in the tail and to apply discipline in the short term, even if it's sacrificial, in order to get long-term benefits. Spence just said it best. The decisions you make in the short term, at times for pleasure or to have comfort when it's inappropriate, leads to long-term suffering, and short-term suffering and sacrifice leads to long-term happiness and a feeling of fulfillment. So, Spence, what are your thoughts on
Good.
this?
So, be honest that you need an ass kicking. Number one, I would say don't give yourself a break. Keep looking at your life in all the different directions. So, I got a buddy, Raymer McGuire, just really awesome guy, close friend. So there's diabetes in his family. So he's always radical about sugar, and so he's busted my chops all the time about sugar. And so he brought me the little test strips, and he said, "Now you need to go."
You went keto?
Well, no, I'm not going keto. No. But anyhow, he gives me this whole sugar testing kit.
Wait, Raymer did this?
Raymer did. And so obviously he puts it on and he jabs your finger and squeezes blood out and says, okay, so you're 91. My blood sugar's pretty good. But the true issue is I just read a book on sugar. Sugar is the worst thing you can put in your body.
Diabolical.
I eat sugar morning, noon, night, all the time. And I'm very healthy in every area of my life, not sugar. And so he gave me this, and I had to be honest and say, I'm out of control.
Yeah, the body, this is, the conversation about discipline and the idea that your body is important in determining your future, in determining where you wind up as far as success, relationships, your life mission. This is something I hadn't really even thought about a lot until the last couple of weeks. But I'm telling you, if you lose control of your body or any area of your body, that is the starting point for other areas of your life to go out of control.
Here's what they're finding out is it's not so much that your brain is controlling your body as your body is controlling your brain and setting how your brain actually functions. So much so that if you were to get Botox or I were to get Botox on our smile muscles and we could not smile, they're finding out that people who do Botox around their face and can't smile get depressed.
Wow.
Mentally get depressed and emotionally. And so they're finding now that it is our body that is resetting our brain. So it's very, very important what we do with our body.
And Spence, I don't fully understand this, but there is, again, in our culture, in our society, this almost movement away from the importance of the body. You know what's fascinating? Put up that other meme if you don't mind. I put this up as well. In a society that is ever body conscious as far as
that's
looks.
Right, correct. Tattoos and piercings.
Well, just, we have this
No, that's
obsession.
not bad, but they're obsessed with how their body looks.
Sure, and we have an obsession with people who are fit and thin,
right.
In the hypothetical. But in a society that's body conscious in a way that we've never been before, in essence, we don't connect with the ultimate power that our body has over us, the power to govern our decisions, regulate our emotions, influence our relationships, and ultimately shape our destiny. So, Spence, I've just been thinking about this for my own life the past couple of weeks. I've been asking myself this question, where is the decisions I'm making with my body, what I eat, the amount that I sleep, exercise, organization, discipline in my body? I kind of went back to a book. I don't know if you ever read this book by a guy by the name of Watchman Nee.
Watchman Nee, absolutely.
Yep, so for those of you...
Missionary to China.
Missionary to China. Watchman Nee has a book called...
Spiritual Man.
Spiritual Man. And this book, he has this concept called the release of the spirit. Yep. And for those of you that are of the Christian faith, you'll appreciate this. For those of you that might not be of the Christian faith, you can just take the principle. But he had this chart with 3 circles, smaller circles cascading inward, 3 of them. And he talked about the outer circle is the body, and the body and the decisions we make is what unlocks the soul and the spirit. And it just, again, the last couple of weeks made me think about, if I really want to take my decisions, emotions, relationships, and my destiny to the next level, it's not in the mind it starts in the body.
Correct. Let's talk a little bit let's go down through the history of Western culture, which is basically a Christian-based culture, is that a lot of the teaching throughout church history and Christianity has been based on Gnosticism. And Gnosticism says that there is the spiritual that is up there in heaven, and we're all going there someday, and this body and this life and this material stuff doesn't matter. Well, that's not a Christian worldview. The Christian worldview is that we are created both body, soul, and spirit as one entity. And so embracing our body and not separating and saying, oh, I can eat like I want, oh, one day I'm going to die, but I'm going to be in heaven one day and I'm going to have a spirit. No, you have a responsibility before God himself to live in your body in the right way so that you can serve Him well.
Yep, and again, whether you're a person of
That
faith or
doesn't-
not,
doesn't matter.
You know what's interesting though? There's so many people. We have friends that watch the program who are faith-filled. We have atheist friends. We got people like Frank who just do whatever they want. No, I'm just kidding. I love Frank. Show Frank a second.
Frank is
Frank
disciplined.
Wells. Show Frank. He's in the corner. Frank, how you doing, man?
Frank looks like $1 million every day.
He does.
He's disciplined.
But we've got all kinds of folks that work with Change Everything, the collective,
Yep.
work with me. And I would just tell you that here's what's amazing, is these principles, whatever you believe in your mind, they apply to you whether you want them to apply to you or not, especially the concepts, the bigger concepts of discipline and this idea that the body controls the mind and not the mind controlling the body. Talk about someone who went through your program, Central Care Mission,
Sure.
and where they were and how this applied to them and how it changed their life.
Yeah, so let's talk about Jesse. Jesse came into the program. Jesse was an orphan on the streets of Orlando. His parents abandoned him. He went through kind of the foster care system, all the horrific experiences of that, and he said at age 16, I'm done, and he began to live on the streets of Orlando. To cope with his emotional pain, he became addicted. I think he might have been 21 or 22. I probably don't have the details of his age, but came to Central Care Mission and was angry, and he would keep everybody at arm's length and didn't want anything. He just needed a place to be. Okay, we're going to love on you. And one night he overdosed at the mission, and we found him in the morning, took him to the hospital, and he woke up, I think, a couple days later, and I went and visited him in the hospital. And I said, when are you going to let us love you, man? Because if you don't let somebody love you, you're going to die.
This guy's addicted to drugs in a way that's physically killing him.
And he doesn't care.
But the first thing you had to address with him was the fact that he had an emotional break.
He was self-medicating emotionally. And so I just said, if you don't let us love you, if you don't let me love you, if you don't let this community love you, you're going to die. And you don't want to die. And he thought about that, and he began to engage the program. He began to run. He just finished a marathon. He changed jobs. He's got a great job making good money. He's got a 401k. I mean, this kid was living on the street as an orphan not too long ago. 401k, he's got a health care. He's got better health care than I have.
Wow.
Okay? And so he's got a mountain bike, exercises all the time, rides. He's got a mentor, and they're going up at the end of the summer to do a mountain bike race. I'm talking a monster race up in Georgia. So it's changed he is a completely, radically changed individual. And what is interesting is when you ask him, well, where does God fit in this? He says, and he's a little, I don't know, he says, all this good has come into my life that I've had nothing to do with. I've got to respond to the person who brought that all into my life, and that eventually you've got to point to someone outside yourself.
I have a huge respect for Spence because Spence Central Care Mission is a faith-based organization, and I think that's fantastic, especially in a world where faith, the topic of faith for a whole nother show,
Sure.
is fascinating because it's become so controversial in our society. It's really fascinating how.
So we're faith-based, but we have atheists come in and we have Muslims come in.
You even spend time with Raymer.
We don't even know what faith Raymer is. Raymer is his own faith, but it doesn't matter. We're scientifically driven.
Yep. That's what I love about
We're
you.
faith-based and scientifically driven.
I love about you, Spence, is that you are unapologetic about your faith, what you believe, but you hang out with anyone, no matter what their
Doesn't
faith
matter.
is, and then you use science and the science of addiction,
Right.
the science of how the body and the mind are connected, and you use the philosophy of discipline as just, you said it best, I had never thought about this, someone who's homeless or an addict, they live a life of chaos.
Absolute chaos.
And one of the first things you have to do is use discipline to create order and structure. Bring those memes back up. Bring that first meme up again. I want to go through this for those that didn't see it. So we had our main points that discipline is seen in negative terms, but the avoidance of temporary pain is the easiest way to bring long-term suffering in your life. Go to that next meme. We'll post all these on the page so you have them. Here's some things you can do right now to get discipline going in your life. Number one, get control by organizing your day. Do you have a list? Do you make a list every day of what that particular day is going to consist of? Do you have a schedule? Do you write down the things you need to do? Do you write down all your appointments? Every single day, I challenge you to organize your day as a discipline that can make a profound impact on your life. Alex, you organize your day? Put it on, Alex. Let's see. Alex, where's your to-do list? I want to see it.
Say yes now.
So I'm kidding. So I'm messing with you. So I just wanted to make sure Alex was still awake. So organize your day. Number two, change or just be cognizant of what you put in your body. If you think about those that go through Central Care Mission, they're challenged by putting the wrong people in their lives, they have a disorganized life with no discipline, and then what they're putting in their body, often drugs and alcohol, is killing them. So change and think about sugar. I'll tell you, this is controversial to some people. Sugar is killing so many people in our society. It is horrible. It's bad for you. Be cognizant of how your body and what you can do with your body today can get you going in the right direction with discipline. Number three, be mindful of your thoughts. This is a big one, something that will take a whole lot more time in the future. But you can control your thoughts, and your thoughts control your decisions in your life. So be mindful of those. Number four, practice the art of being present. I struggle with this one all the time. You're so busy, you're so all over the place with your schedule that you're not in the moment with the person that you're physically with. So the practice of disciplining yourself, of being present. And this one's one of the ones I struggle with the most. John Bustecker was just here. He laughed when he saw this one in regards to me. The discipline of sleep and adequately taking breaks. There's a lot of research, I've been looking at it recently, that if you sleep an inadequate amount of time, that's really bad for you. So go to the ass-kicking meme, ma'am, please. Ma'am, would you please bring up the ass-kicking meme? So,
Andre, you don't sleep. What are you doing?
I know this is so we're going to put these memes up, but I want to go through this one because this was just for Spence. How to kick your own ass. Discipline yourself. Number one, be honest that you need an ass kicking. Admit your lack of discipline. This is what I got to do to make change, Spence. And self-control. Number two, kick yourself right into gonads. Use that pain point. Use the thing that hurts you the most, that you're inflicting on yourself. For some of you, you're eating, if you're honest, you're eating yourself into oblivion. Your food choices are not what you know they need to be, and you freaking hate it. Use that pain to cause you to make a change and to change your life. Whatever that pain point might be.
The pain of boredom to watch TV every night, all night long, and because you're bored, deal with the boredom.
Deal with that pain point. Number two, to hit yourself where it hurts in order to use that pain for change. Number three, you are a bully. There's no bigger bully to you than you. Stand up to the bully and stop letting your fears control you and hold you back. Number four, watch out. You are a dirty fighter when you're fighting yourself. Watch out for the cheap shots. Your weaknesses, don't fight fair. Your mind will tell you the craziest things. Those that are addicts in your program, Spence, I'm sure that they will talk themselves in every way.
They'll put a needle in their arm at the risk of dying immediately.
Whew, that's intense, and we're talking about that in just a second. Number five, celebrate. If you do something that temporarily hurts, but is in a long-term sense a catalyst for something amazing in your life, celebrate and get excited about self-control and discipline. We're going to post these memes because we want to encourage you to apply this right now. But
let's talk about the relationship between discipline and habits.
Okay, let's do it.
So when you start out anything, it's a discipline. And most people think so I ride a bike 3 times a week, about between 80 and 100 miles. Most people think that's a discipline.
Wait, say that again. You ride a bike.
Yep, 3 in the morning.
In the
6
morning.
o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Between 80 and 100 miles a week.
80, 100 miles every week you ride a bike.
That's on average. Now we're going to start hitting our training, and that's going to go up. That's going to go up significantly. Oof. But most people think that's discipline. That's not a discipline. That's a habit.
Okay.
Because every Tuesday every Thursday and every Saturday at 6 o'clock, there are guys waiting in my driveway, and they're going to be banging on my door. And so I just have a habit. I'm not disciplined. I have the habit. It's built into my schedule. It's built into my routine. Here's where the discipline is when you get out and you're riding 20 miles with these guys and you're going 22, 23 miles an hour. The wind's in your face. You can choose to be lazy and ride 19 miles an hour. Or you can say, daggone it, I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to engage this. I'm going to suffer. I'm going to punch through 24 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I'm going to be disciplined. That's where your discipline is.
So the pain, and I agree with this. I actually just thought about this when you were talking about how there's a difference between discipline and habits. So when I think about something that I've probably put some work in and made some progress, I don't really eat sugar or carbohydrates that much anymore. But it took me a lot of years to discipline myself, and it was very hard.
Yeah.
Now I can go to a restaurant and you can put chips and all kinds of carbohydrates and sugar in front of me, and I'm not even tempted by it. So, but
If you put a sweet tea in front of me, I start shaking, you know. And it's the hardest thing to order a glass of water with lemon.
Gotcha.
But that's because I have to be disciplined. Soon it'll be a habit.
Yep, discipline to habits. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So, Spence, we're going to wrap up in just a
Okay.
minute, but I want to talk a little bit more about Central Care Mission. You guys have such important work. What do you need? What do you? If someone's watching out there and they're like, I like this guy Spence. I like what he's talking about. I like his program. What do you need to take your program and helping these men to the next level?
Yeah, I need other men to come alongside the guys that I have at the mission and help mentor them, pour into their life, just like my friend Dudley is taking Jesse that I just told you about and taking him on his vacation. This is a professional businessman taking a formerly homeless orphan addict with him on a race and go pour his life into that guy. It's going to change his life forever.
Gotcha.
Okay, that's the biggest thing. Is I'm one person. I only have so much relational bandwidth and so much and time. I need other guys, other men to come alongside and just help mentor these men.
And you
pour
got
into their life.
So you need people to put in time.
Yeah.
And you also, like anyone, you always
Sure.
need fundraising.
Oh
And
yeah.
If anyone
yeah.
wants
if
to
you want to
throw
talk about that,
everyone wants to throw you some money.
I
it'll take-
need $2 million to build a life skill community center
Well, so
that will double our capacity.
I believe this community is going to supply that for you as
Yep.
well. I do. Spence, it would be remiss.
My dad's writing a check right now.
Oh, that's awesome. So, by the way, Philip Deems, a good buddy of mine, says hello.
Yeah.
Wade's on. Gloria's on. What's up to? Let's see who else. Maggie. A lot of cool people on. Thanks for joining. Talk a little bit about Spence. You have this passion to help those that are in addiction. You have such a sacrificial heart to you. But you're someone who struggled with addiction. Talk about that a little bit and how you overcame that and how that motivates you to help other people.
Yeah, I was. I had a best friend. He had 13 brothers. They were all older. They came home from Vietnam, smoking marijuana and camping out. One night, they said, "Hey, you want to try this?" And it's like, "Yeah." And the interesting thing is, all of a sudden, when I smoked it, it's like, wow, that feels really good. That felt like all of a sudden, you know what brain pain is? Have you ever talked? Brain pain is when, due to the deficiencies in your brain, it causes brain pain, whether that's depression, anxiety, sadness, whatever those things are. The reason people take drugs is because it medicates that brain pain and makes them feel a little bit normal. And I'm like, wow, that feels really normal. Well, there you go.
Okay. And where do you go from there?
6 years, all the way through high school.
Okay.
A life of destruction, a life of hurting my parents, a life of being embarrassment in our community, all kinds of things. And then it's really interesting. I just tell you, on an LSD trip in the middle of the night, everything turned really, really bad. And you can't turn an LSD trip off. Okay, that's the worst thing. And everything that I ever did bad in my life and wrong in my life began to play out. And I left the party, and I loved that partying. I loved having fun. There was no fun. It went away. I went home, crawled in bed, and my life was all over the wall, all over the ceiling, no matter what I'd done wrong. And that was the beginning of me facing reality.
How old were you then?
I was 17.
17.
My life completely changed. Last time I was addicted was September 20th, 1979.
So you know what it's like, and were
My
you...
life changed just like that.
And Spence, would you say, because this is from my experience and from working, with those that are looking for life transformation,
Yep.
there's a lot of time when, we think that what we're looking for is a substance, and we might see someone who's in addiction, and we say, oh, they're addicted to a substance, but it's often that substance, whatever it might be. For some people, it's drugs. For some people, it's alcohol. For some people, it's food.
Right.
For some people, it's sex. For some, it's a lot of different things. But do you think
All those things are dopamine driven.
but they're filling a need, a hole inside of you?
That's correct.
That you're struggling to fill.
That's correct.
And I would just say this: I have found in my own life and in the life of others, where I have any kind of emotional pain, where I have any
Stress at work.
stress, that hole gets deeper, and it hungers for those false ways of fulfilling it.
Soothing and
Soothing.
self-medicating.
Yep. So this is again where your life, you're able to take that experience you had and be a mirror to others as they try to transform themselves. At your event, you did this big event.
Yeah. 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago, I was struck by how many of the men talked about the fact that they didn't have father figures.
That's correct.
That they talk about that correlation between drug addiction and the lack of parenting and father figures.
So Gabor Mate is an author from Canada, best-selling author, wrote In the Realm of Hungry Ghost. And that book is, the title is based on the 7 cycles in Buddhism. And the one thing is addiction. And what it is it's a picture of skeletons with food in front of them, all the food, and they're eating it, but they're still dead, and they're skeletons.
Okay.
And so let me come back to your question about fathers. Gabor Mate says this: when you do not have a father figure or a mother nurturing figure, at a young age, it presets your brain, predisposes your brain to addiction because of the serotonin deficiencies, the dopamine deficiencies, less neurotransmitters in your brain, all of that. And so when you then become, middle school, you become socially active, and someone hands you something, and you take that, all of a sudden, your brain says, this is what I've been missing. You have a dopamine infusion, you have all these endorphins, you have all this chemical reaction happening. It's like the bucket's been not just half empty, it's been empty. And then that drug just fills it back up. That's a very dangerous place to be.
Yep.
Discipline gives you a set of habits and a set of activities to transfer what you do, and you get a high from exercise, you get a high from learning new information, you get a high from meditating, you get a high from a spiritual experience. And that's what happened to me. That's what changed my life. It's a spiritual experience.
Discipline becomes the new starting point.
That's exactly right.
But ultimately, the transformation might be, the transformation's on the inside. Your life mission is found on the inside, but discipline is the outside starting point that allows you to get on the right path.
You have to align your priorities, your principles, and your goals first. And then you integrate your disciplines to reflect what your priorities are, what your principles are, how you're going to live, and your life goals. What are you going to do? Then you become disciplined, and those disciplines create habits, and then you hit your life goals.
For those of you that are looking to get more information on Central Care Mission, we'll post that right on this feed.
Yeah.
And
www.centralcaremission.com.
So
there it is.
We'll post that here in case you didn't catch that, because we want you to get connected with Spence. Spence is also great for those of you out there looking for speakers on the topic of addiction. If you're looking for someone to come in and talk about the opioid crisis,
correct.
Spence is your man. And Spence, I got to tell you, I'm addicted right now to this topic of discipline, because again, for my own life, I had to ask myself the last few weeks, is what I've been doing previously that's gotten the result I've previously gotten, is that going to be enough to take me to the next place that my life mission is trying
Keep
to carry
asking
me?
the next questions.
And I had to be honest with myself that what I did before isn't going to work to get me where I'm going. And that's in every area of my life, in my finances, in my relationships, in my ability to take the important work that I believe in to the next level. It's going to start, I had to admit,
So you
with
know
discipline.
what discipline? You know what discipline you're exercising? Mental dedication to reality.
Okay? Talk about that.
So you're not going to change your disciplines or your habits or your lifestyle till you're brutally honest with how you are in reality. And that's what you just label out. But that just doesn't come like, oh, okay, one day I'm just going to sip a little, not Pepsi because that's got sugar in it, but I'm going to sip a cup of coffee and I'm going to think this all through and then I'm going to have all the answers. You have to be disciplined to take the time to create a framework in your brain of what are you going to live for.
Yep. One of the things, that I know you'll appreciate is this idea that I've had lately that when I let myself go in whatever area of my life, my body, my mind, my spirit, and my life starts, whether people can see it or not, it starts reflecting that. I know there's a cost. I know I'm not as good a dad as I could be. I'm not a good boss. I'm not a leader. If I think about the cost to myself, there's some motivation. But when I think about the cost to others, sometimes that can also be even a bigger motivation.
Absolutely.
When we don't have discipline in our lives, there's a cost to someone, starting with yourself. And so, again, as we were talking about before, using that pain point and saying, I want my life to be different. I think that's been a big part of my motivation. And even just every week having to create content to talk about to other people.
Correct.
This show, it's been great for me because I'm like, hey, let's see, how does that apply to me? You have to get up in front of these folks that are challenged with addiction. You're often having to reflect on these same principles yourself, and that's probably good for you.
Absolutely. Yep. It's very good to have that self-reference and that self-criticism and that self-accountability so that you can turn around and say, look, these are the things that you need to be thinking about. I want to talk to you about one thing you just brought up is people say, why do you exercise so much? And well, I want to live. I want to live as long as I can possibly live. But here's the other thing, is I want to live for my kids and my family and my grandchildren and be a blessing to them.
Yep. So, again, we're going to put all this content up online. Spence is one of our best community leaders. Frank, come in here a second. I'm gonna let Frank come in for just a second and sit down. Frank is what we call an interloper.
Don't let anybody in this place.
What's going on, brother?
Hey, brother,
Good
how
to
are
see you.
You too.
So, Frank, you have to talk up a little bit. But
Yes. I'll speak loudly.
so,
He's
Frank,
making us look bad, bro.
Frank, I'm going to have Frank on another time. But Frank is one of the main big shots. What's the name of your organization?
Bright Community Trust.
Bright Community Trust. So we're going to have Frank on another time talking about affordable housing. Two things I don't think we're having an honest conversation about in our country, and that is the opioid crisis.
Yep.
We're not really talking about the underlying reasons why so many people who it doesn't make any sense.
We're medicating.
We are in a society medicating because we are miserable.
Yep.
We are the richest country that's ever existed in the history of the world, and you got a lot of people that are miserable and empty and looking for purpose and looking for it in drugs. So we're not having an honest conversation about that. And we're also not having an honest conversation about affordable housing. And so Frank is a good guy who's leading an organization. These are two of the best leaders we have in our community, some of the coolest people I know. So again, thank you for joining us. We're going to put all this content up. Spence's contact information is going to be in our list of our comment section, and we'll see you again next week. Next week we have Roberto Gonzalez and Linda Gonzalez. We're going to be talking about the concept of the war of art. How do you take your art, whatever that art is, and apply kind of this concept of discipline to creating meaningful art, whatever that might be, in your life. We're going to have them on next week. So thanks for coming on,
Thank
man.
you, man.
Frank, thank you for
Thanks for having me.
for
Absolutely.
showing up at the last
Great
minute. So
job.
we'll talk to you soon. Take care.